Welcome to the explanation of our computer networks project. This project is based on RTSP and RTP. We are group TF5 consisting of these members. Firstly, let us talk about what is RTSP and RTP. RTSP is real-time streaming protocol and RTP is real-time transport protocol. RTSP is an application layer protocol which behaves as a remote control, and RTP is where the real work is done and all the data transfer happens. In this project, we have used these four RTP methods. The first method is setup. In setup method, the server allocates resources for the stream and starts the RTSP session. Next two methods are play and pause methods. Play and pause methods start and halt the stream. When the play method is requested, the data transfer starts, and when the pause method is requested, the stream is halted for some time or when again the play method is initialized. Next method is tear down method. The tear down method frees the resources on the stream and ends the RTSP session. To understand these methods more clearly, let us look at this link. These are the RTSP basic operations. Firstly, the HTTP GET request is sent and the session starts. The client then sends the setup request to which the server acknowledges, and then the client can send the play and pause request. When the play request is sent, the server acknowledges it and the data transfer happens. When the pause request is sent, the stream is halted. The stream can be again played by sending the play request. The next method is tear down method. Tear down methods uh, closes the RTSP session and the stream is ended. Next, we will look at the code explanation which is implemented in Python. This is the demonstration for our computer networks project. Firstly, we will initialize the server side. Now, we will initialize the client side. This is the GUI window for the project. This is the version 1 of the project. The demonstration of the version 2 will be attached later. Firstly, we will press setup. Uh, this will set up uh, uh, this will set up the client and the server port, and then the video streaming can begin. When we press play, the video streaming starts. We can toggle between play and pause, and these are the sequence numbers. Now we can see we can press the tear down button to close to close the port and close the GUI. This will also delete the cache files. Now we will next will be the demonstration for version 2. Now in this video we will showcase how we can press tear down at any state, play or pause. This we have initialized the server side. Now we will initialize the client side. Let's do a setup, press play, and then we can do a straight away tear down from here. Now the cache files have been deleted, so tear down can be pressed from play as well as pause. This is the bonus exercise for the project. In this exercise we have removed one button and added the stop button. Now this is the new GUI. In the previous button, in the previous GUI, there were two buttons: setups, play and pause. Here we have removed the setup button and just added the play button. By pressing the play button, the setup is already done, and we can also test the pause button, which is working completely fine. Now instead of the tear down button, we have the stop button, which resets the GUI, and we can play the video again. So let us see how the code works. Firstly, let us see how the server side works. Here we are taking the port number as argument, and we are binding it here. This 13th line shows that a maximum 5 ports can be binded, and then we are starting to listen here. Uh, this These are all the RTSP methods, and these are all the states. So for the states, we can see that when we are here on pressing setup, we should go to ready, and on pressing play, we should go to playing. Uh, from playing, we can go to ready by pressing pause, and from any of these two methods, we can go to this state by pressing tear down. So this is what will happen. Uh, this state shows on the current state on which we are. We are storing the client info in the dictionary, and when we receive the RTSP request, we will process the RTSP request. So in the process RTSP request, firstly we will get the request type, and based on the request type, we will perform operation. If the request type is setup and we are in this state in it, we will process the setup and change our state to ready state. We will also send the RTSP reply here, and also get the RTP/UDP port. So RTP is a real-time transfer protocol as discussed earlier, and UDP is user datagram protocol. Now, if the request type would have been play, then we would check if we are in ready state, and if we were in ready state, we would change the state to playing and create a new thread to send the RTP packet. Uh, if the request type would have been pause, we would check if we were in playing state, and we would uh, pause the stream and change the state to again to ready state. After the ready state, we can again go to a play state and then continue. Now, if the request type would have been tear down, we would just close the RTSP socket and close the window. In the send RTP function, we are using RTP to send data from server to the client. Here, we are getting the data using the video stream class, which is then used to send to the client. This is the frame number that we are getting. We will use make RTP function to form the packet. This will form the RTP packet with the RTP header and its payload. Next, this will be returned, and we will use this data of this packet to send to the client. RTP function, we made the RTP packet which we send back to the client. We made this RTP packet using the RTP packet class. In this RTP packet class, there are multiple functions such as encode, decode, sequence number, timestamp, payload, and packet. So, firstly, this was the part of the assignment that we had to do. We created this header in the encode function. This encode function will add the header ahead of the payload. Using this get payload function, we can get the payload, and using this packet function, we can get the whole RTP packet, which is just the header plus the payload. This payload is the original data that we had to send to the client, but we added the RTP header for the RTP protocol. This is the code for the client side. In the client side, we will accept 4 arguments. These are those 4 arguments. The 4 arguments are server address, the address on which the server is working, the port, which is the RTP port, RTSP port. I'm sorry, the RTSP port. This is the server port is RTSP port, and this is the RTP port, and also the fourth argument is file name. Next, we are creating a GUI in Python using this library Tincter. This library is used to create a fast GUI in Python. Now we are using this client class, which will be explained further. This is the client class. Here we are setting up these states. This shows the current state that we are in. These are some parameters. These are some variables that we get as a parameter from the client launcher file, right? In here, the session ID is set to 0, the sequence is set to 0. Also, we are using here the connect to server function. Let us look at that function. The connect to server function just creates a RTSP socket using the server address and the server port. That is all it does. We are also using for the GUI the create widget function. Okay, the create widget function builds the GUI. For it builds the GUI, and let me show you the GUI. So this let's create the GUI. This is the server side and this is the client side. So this is the GUI that the function creates, the create widgets function. So the demonstration of the GUI will be done. This is just the setup, the play, the pause, right? The, the GUI will be explained in the demonstration. What the GUI has is the setup button, the play button, and the pause button, and the tear down button. This GUI will work according to the button pressed. When we press the setup button, uh, the setup will be done and accordingly the play, pause and tear down. This is the setup button handler. It will set the state to init and send the RTSP request. This is the pause and again yeah it sends the RTSP request pause and changes the state to if the state is in playing then it pauses the state and this is the setup request so it will just send the setup request. This is the play movie. This is the play button handler. This will send the play request, this RTSP play request. For this, the state should be ready, and this is the listen RTP function. This will create the RTP packet and decode it, and this prints the sequence number uh, as shown here. This is the sequence number, and this will uh, this will listen to the RTP request. In the receive RTSP reply function, we will receive the reply from the server side. We will first decode the reply and then we will pass it down to the RTSP reply function, which we explained here. Now, if the request sent is the tear down request, we will shut down the RTSP socket and we will close it. In the parse RTSP reply function, we will be extracting the sequence number of the RTSP. Uh, Let me show you the format of the RTSP sequence. So uh, this will be the format of the RTSP sequence and we will be extracting this. Uh, we will be extracting this sequence number using the split method. Now, if the sequence number is same as we sent to the server, we will save the session ID. If the session ID is 0, we will save the session ID and if the session ID is same on both the server and the client side, uh, we will do the process according to the current state and the request sent. Now, if the request sent is a setup request, we will use the open RTP port function. In the open RTP port function, we will create a RTP port at the client side and we will bind that RTP port to the port which we have received, which we have given as the system argument. Now, uh, at the listen at the listen RTP function, we will receive the data from that port and we will decode that data. and based on the data, we will update the GUI using this function. Now, if finally we receive the exit client or the tear down request, we will close the GUI window and remove the extra cache files that were created. Now, following this, uh, this is the complete explanation of the project. This is the demonstration of how the project works. We will create the server side and we will send the client. Now, this is the window on which the video is playing. Let's give a setup. As you can see, the setup has been done. Next method is play and pause. As you can see, when I press play and when I press pause, the sequence number started, and then when I pressed pause, the sequence number paused. Let us try that again. Play and then pause. As you can see, uh, the sequence number stopped. You can also observe that the sequence number start ended at 40 and started at 41 because the video is continuing. And lastly, we can test out the tear down. Using tear down, uh, the RTSP connection is paused.